Hello guys, it's Basset, and today we're gonna be watching a really nice game between Nicoract spawning as the Celestials here, Blue Celestials, and his opponent is Mixu spawning as Red Vanguard. This is a game from the recent Community Cup called the Alpha Navigators, and this is from the finals of that cup, so both of these players are really experienced Stormgate guys. They're probably one of the best players currently in the game. Well, maybe except for Parsing, Lucifron, Vortex Mana, and some other players who've been around for so many years, basically for a decade, because a lot of Stormgate players that you can see now in the top, they are all ex-StarCraft, Warcraft, or Age of Empires players, and this is natural. There are a lot of competitive players out there in RTS genre, and this is why Stormgate is pretty much conquered by them. And although Nicoract and Mixu probably are not quite on the same level as Parsing, let's say, or Mana, they're still very talented, and they also have a lot of StarCraft 2 experience as well, because Nicoract, for example, he used to play Terran. He's probably still playing Terran in StarCraft 2, he's very active. I think he has like something around 6k MMR in StarCraft 2, which is a really high number. That's somewhat around top 100 or maybe top 50 Grandmaster League right now. And he's already clearing the first creep camp, and he's trying to secure himself a nice and slow economic advantage out there. His opponent Mixu is just playing dogs. He's just probably looking for a nice tier 2 upgrade soon, because he's already mining some of this Ethereum resource that allows you to go for high-tech units and something like that. And talking about Mixu and his past, that's also worth noting that he also used to play StarCraft 2. He used to play as Zerg though, and he has a very nice, I think he had a very nice career in StarCraft. I'm not sure that I've seen them recently playing this game. And what's really interesting that Mixu is from Finland, the place which gave us Serral, the best RTS player of all time. Maybe one could argue that he's even better than J-Donk and Flash and Brood War. To me, at least, Serral is just a bit better, in my opinion. I think he's he just really made history with his games in StarCraft 2 and with his track record, so it's really fascinating. And Mixu, I think, has been following his path. I think Serral was an inspiration for Mixu for sure. And that's gonna be pretty cool to see what Mixu is gonna be able to accomplish in Stormgate. Serral, so far, I think he was considering Stormgate as a game, for future at least, but he's still active in StarCraft 2, and he's currently in the military, so he doesn't really have that much time to practice in any game but StarCraft 2. So, Mixu is already clearing his creep camp here, his speed camp, and he's been pretty active on the map. And as a Vanguard player, I think, yeah, he's just researching this upgrade for scouts, which is extremely OP, apparently, at the current meta, and this is gonna give him a nice map control, and also the ability to clear creep stacks effortlessly. Because now you just have a nice bonus to your light attack, and probably Mixu is just going to be trying to take map control with all of this. While Nicoract, on the other hand, he's trying to establish himself on 3 bases. His third base is very early, and this is a really good sign for a Celestial player. You need a really robust economy to get going, and he's so far just going for Argents. They're not quite that good, to be honest. This is just a very basic T1 unit that has a nice mechanic with energy. If this unit's energy depletes, he's just attacking less, does less damage. But in really high numbers, you can overwhelm your opponents effortlessly. If you just amass them quickly and just go for an all-in, that's something that still works on ladder. Although this is probably not something that you're aiming to do against such a player as Mixu, who is very experienced and probably anticipating something like that. But also, from Nicoract's side, he was also playing very defensively, because he knows that, well, everybody enjoys dogs nowadays, so that's why he's just making a lot of those ranged units. Even though they're quite weak and they don't really scale that well into the late game, they're still very useful. Like in this example, when he's trying to defend against this big attack from Mixu. Mixu is targeting 3 power banks here, which is really nice. Although power banks are quite useful, it's not like so much damage, and Mixu is still on the back foot. He needs to establish a better economy going right now. I would say Nicoract still has an advantage because he managed to hold really well against all these attacks. He didn't really lose anything significant pretty much. So he just needs to continue going like that. There is a collectionary. This thing can easily just relocate to a different Luminite patch, but he needs to be careful not to lose that because there are ranged exos in the army. And Mixu just retreating back. He's, I think, probably should not be fighting here because Nicoract has just a formidable army at the moment, and it's just better to wait, just hold at home. And yeah, I think Mixu is realizing that the army of Nicoract is just too much to handle right now, so he's building extra sentries. He's gonna be occupying those with his exos or maybe even lancers for this extra DPS and extra AoE damage, and I think it's gonna be enough, right? Nicoract isn't gonna be trying to besiege the base, and that's probably a right call because you don't really need to do that at this stage of the game, and he also has 3 bases himself, so no need to worry about that second expansion of Mixu. He can probably just take some creep camps as well, and this is one good feature of Stormgate that I personally really like about this game quite a lot. In other RTS games that I played, and I played quite a lot of them, I would say map control is not really that important. But hold on, let's see how this fight is going to be going. This is actually a nice push from Nicoract. He's trying to get all of this access, nice target fire, but is it going to be enough here? Not really sure about that because this flak cannon is going to be really annoying. This is a pain in the ass right now, and he just has to think about that, has to circumvent that thing somehow, but that's just not possible, I think. So yeah, he's just doing the scouting right now. This is the ability from the main building, from the top panel, as we call it in this game. And he just scouted, and he sees that, well, the army for Mixu is not that high, and, you know, you can easily engage with that probably. The numbers are just not really that great for Vanguard player, but still, you have those annoying dogs at your own base. They're just trying to target the structures. And Nicoract kind of realizes that, okay, so this game is gonna be... it's gonna be looking like a long one, pretty much. So he's adding crease right now. He's gonna be going for those very... you know, very heavy, I would call it that way, very, you know, nice melee units that can tank quite a lot of damage, and they're also pretty quick, so you can surround the whole army with them if you just have a nice positioning on the map. So talking about the Stormgate and why I really enjoy this game, and something that not really many people talk about online, because, well, many people just trash the game online, to be honest, right now, because it's quite unpolished, so let's be honest about that. But still, what I like about Stormgate is that's one of the few RTS games that doesn't really force you to play in a certain way, because, well, while there are creep camps on the map, and you are kinda incentivized to take them, because they give you a lot of bonuses from just temporary buffs like speed or vision or health, they also give you a lot of resources, and the player who is just active on the map usually gets more resources. But at the same time, what's really important to acknowledge, you know, you can just play very well on your 2 or 3 bases, and you just can play greedy with your expansion and you'll be just fine. So there are multiple ways to play this game. You don't really need to be present on the map. You can try to cook with different build orders with different timings, and maybe even take in the 3rd base very early, pretty much as Nicoract did this game, right? So his base was extremely early. This was, I would say, even a bit ambitious and certainly risky, but it actually paid off. Even though Mixu had a nice map control for the most part of this game, Nicoract is in a better spot right now, but he just needs to be very careful with how he engages with this army. So far, so good. He's gonna be taking down some of the axes, maybe some of the dogs as well, and the lancer. And there is already a medic on the battlefield, so needs to be extremely careful. I mean, Nicoract, he probably wants to engage here really badly, but I kind of feel that he doesn't need to do that. He can still go around the map, he can go for the 4th base himself, he can just grow his economy by a significant margin just by doing that, and that would be enough actually, because Mixu, he's on defensive right now, and it's Mixu who actually has to counterattack Nicoract pretty soon, but the problem I feel like Nicoract is just, he just wants to keep his opponent isolated and locked on that base, to be honest, on 2 bases, right? It's not 1 base, but still, for Vanguard, there's a way to play around that, because Vanguard, as I said previously, is a race that scales really well with every single unit to the late game. And that's not really true about other races in Stormgate, but again, you can circumvent that by just taking more bases and having a much larger economy. And Mixu is, right now, he's trying to kind of get out of this tough position by just building siege tanks, or Atlas as we call that in Stormgate. Although they're pretty much similar to StarCraft 2 units, siege tanks, which were also and still are pretty good against pretty much every race and in every matchup. And back in the old days, you could also drop them from the medevacs in the sieged mode, and they were called tanky-vacs. So now you have the same thing in Stormgate. You can use this evac and drop the Atlas from the evac. They shoot and you just go back. So this is a very nice micro trick that can win games, and this is what Mixu is going for. I think it's pretty apparent that he's quite behind his opponent, so he needs to land those shots really, really well. He upgraded his evac, he got the extra rank on that, extra veterancy. Now he can move just slightly faster. That's pretty important because Vanguard unit, each unit has a separate upgrade with veterancy. So some units get the weapon damage, some units get the armor, and this unit gets a speed buff, which is extremely important when you need to micro your heavy ranged units. For Nicoract, he's going for kind of simplistic army, to be honest. This race has a lot of tools to operate with. He's just choosing a mass Argent army, or Argent, and he's just building Kreese and also some Cabals. Cabals, this is a kind of a supportive unit that just debuffs enemy's army, basically making the units move slower and shoot at a slower pace. It's not really a great unit, to be honest, but, you know, he's just trying to experiment with that. And so far, actually, this is a very nice engagement for Mixu. He was able to take down one of the collection arrays here, and he just harmed the economy of Nicoract severely. But there's so many units here. Nice shot by the Atlas landing, but so many X's are gonna go to get destroyed here. I feel like this was a mistake by Mixu because he attempted to fight here, and it looked very well at the first glance, but now it seems like he's gonna be forced to evacuate and stay at his second expansion right now. But Nicoract at the same time, he also got quite a bit of those juicy shots, so some of his army got destroyed here, and he needs to make sure he just doesn't allow Mixu to evaporate the remaining of his units. He needs to be very careful, but also he must make sure he takes down this command post, because this is the last hope for Mixu in this match, in this game, because okay, it goes down. That's very nice. And now there are also sabers. This is a long-range artillery of the Celestials, and it feels like Mixu is on the ropes right now. He's in a very bad spot, only 72 supply against 124, so this is a tough situation for him, but he keeps on microing with his Atlases, and he does a very good job with that, so far at least. But that can end really quickly if he just makes a big mistake somewhere. Yeah, he uses a lot of units to tank, and Atlases, they're all fine so far. So some of them lost HPs, of course, but that's fine. They're also going to be getting some veterancy soon, because they got plenty of kills already, so they're gonna get even stronger. And oh my god, this was a nice shot. -2 sabers at the moment. This was a really nice one, and also more AoE damage is going here. Just back to the base, there's also this repair station where you can heal your mech units, and this is a pretty important thing right now for Mixu, but he's still in a tough spot nevertheless, because he still needs to gain a sizable advantage somehow. So far, even though he's trading really well, there is not that much going on his side. But this shot again, the shots that he's landing are just amazing. Again, taking even more artillery down. That's nice. That's really impressive so far. Mixu is showing some StarCraft 2 level micro here, and it feels like Nicoract actually lost almost all of his ground forces. Yeah, he needs to go back right now. I feel like there is also this Sentinel. That's also a support unit for Vanguard race. And Mixu now, he feels comfortable to take this location once again. And now both players are on 3 locations, but Mixu, he's got a nice advantage. At that time, I feel like, because the supplies are equal right now, and he also has the veterancy on his tanks, pretty much, on his siege weapons here. And for Nicoract, what's left is going for the sky. Okay, maybe. There are some of the flying units here, which do a lot of damage, especially when they're close to their targets. But for Nicoract, he feels like... Okay, he got the 4th base, that's nice. That's at least something going for him. So, still, this Celestial player maintains his economic advantage, which is crucial for him to come back in this game now, or at least disrupt the comeback process of Mixu. So, this is pretty big right now. But he needs to make sure that the next fight he takes is not gonna be going the same direction as all the previous fight went, right? Because the previous fights, they were pretty terrible for Nicoract. He had an advantage from pretty much the whole game, to be honest. But yeah, the way he fought with his opponent was really, really bad. Okay, so another engagement here. Both players are just kind of farming creeps, just trying to deny the money and resource from each other. And yeah, well, that's pretty tough to engage here against such a high number of units from Mixu. And now there is a lot of anti-air, by the way, so some time ago there were maybe like a few exits, maybe 1 or 2, because everyone else just died. And now there is a bunch of them, so all of your sky units are not gonna be that useful. You need maybe more AoE damage as well. So yeah, exits, they just do so much DPS, it's pretty much impossible to fight. And oh my god, so many nice shots landing once again. This time though, one Atlas is down, and this sky attack is actually working really well for Nicoract at the moment. He's gonna take another... Oh no, he's not gonna be doing that, because there is a shield drop on that unit, but still, the fight is happening. I'm not sure that he should commit, but he's trying to do that, and there's gonna be a lot of damage from the exhaust. He needs to make sure that his sky army survives. That's the highest priority right now, and feels like this is gonna be happening, but well, at what cost? So, but yeah, I feel like Nicoract still accomplished his main goal. He destroyed all of the long-range artillery, and now I think it's safe to go for some other units. He doesn't really need to mass these flying beasts anymore. He can just go for, yeah, more Argents, maybe more Crease as well. Why not? It's gonna be a nice thing to have. Okay, this was a nice denial here. Okay, so... yeah, this is a pretty tough situation right now for both of these players, to be honest. I kind of feel that Mixu should not be going for the base trade, because he still has a very nice and very powerful chunk of forces, but yeah, he needs to do some economic damage at the same time as well. That's a good call by him anyway, but he just needs to make sure that he manages to evacuate from this position, which could be a problem, as it happened last time. Last time he was not able to do that, and he was stuck between a rock and a hard place for the whole game, pretty much because of that one mistake. But this time, it feels like there's gonna be a different story, because he manages to fight bravely, and he actually clears out all of the sky forces of Nicoract, and he just needs to go back, maybe retreat with all of the remaining soldiers here, and just rejoin all of the forces somewhere there. I think there's gonna be a reinforcement soon, but yeah, most of his army is still dead. But nevertheless, even though he lost quite a lot of his soldiers here, at least he got the base, and he got a lot of infrastructure together with this, and also some of the flying prisms that are also collecting the resources across the map. So I gotta say, this was a nice trade. This was a nice trade, even though, you know, losing your army supply for Vanguard is not usually the best thing that can happen in a game. I feel like this was still a very nice trade-off for Mixu, right? Nicoract is now forced to counterattack. He kind of feels that he has to do it, although I would say that he's still in a nice spot. Okay, he used the ability on the creep camp to destroy the creep camp in a matter of seconds. This is a nice ability that allows the Celestials to farm the map effortlessly. But still, I kind of feel that he doesn't really need to engage. Yes, he lost some of his economy, obviously, but, you know, you can always try to rebuild that back and just retreat and just try to play from a defensive stance. But no, he's engaging here, and this time it feels that his army is even more weaker, to be honest. Yeah, you can't really fight here, and there are so many exits that you're going to be targeting all of the sabers, and this army is going to be dead. And that's pretty rough for Nicoract, who's been in the lead for the majority of this game, but not so anymore. And yeah, it feels really tough right now. 4 bases, he rebuilt one of his locations, and he's also going for the 5th base here, so maybe he's gonna be safe, but he's trying to defend that. But again, yeah, this is a problem. And Nicoract also needs to go for maybe like more high-tech units. I feel like at this stage of the game, you can maybe try to go for Archangels. They're pretty strong. But yeah, it feels like he just cannot afford them, and he just needs to be aware that there is a possibility of a counterattack incoming at any possible second in this game. So you need something immediately to counter that. And oh my god, this is gonna be another Saber just going down the drain, because it was left like that in the middle of a field with no protection whatsoever. And now this is just the very cheap Meteor army that doesn't really do any damage. Yeah, it's not gonna be a strong force, and this is an easy force to reckon with, so it's not a problem. Yeah, Mixu is just... Even though he doesn't really need to fight here, because he already has his own 4th base, he can just clear the camps, he can just make some of the extra units, like some medics, maybe some lancers to tank the damage from the incoming shots. But he feels very nice. I feel like Mixu, he was really down for quite some time, but now, for the past couple of minutes, he's probably feeling really nice. And also this drop once again, 1 medevac and also a couple of soldiers here, a couple of exas, and yeah, it's doing some economy damage. Some prisms are down, they were destroyed immediately, and yeah, it's going pretty bad for Nicoract. He's losing his map control, and those Bobs are already planting the 5th or even the 6th base for Mixu, who is now so much ahead economically that Nicoract has to do something just right now, right here, just somehow break Mixu's defenses and at least get 1 base down. And this is the only thing that can save him, but there's gonna be this Atlas once again. Oh, that was pretty bad. That was a miss micro by Mixu, but yeah, still, even with this mistake, he's still in the lead, and he's just blocking this Saber and just fighting with his whole Exo army. Exos are getting the veterans here, they're just getting stronger and stronger. Also nice formation at the front, so he's not really getting that much splash damage from the enemy, even though he's losing some units, by the way, so probably this is just an overcommitment by Mixu, but still, I feel like he's very confident about his position in this game, and he's probably going to take this game in this one single attack, because, well, even if he doesn't do that immediately, he has so much map control and so much resources going for him, so it doesn't really matter anymore. And even though we cannot really see that in the replay, I feel like this is pretty obvious that Nicoract just chooses to give up at this point, and that kind of makes sense because he's just too far behind at this point, and there's just no way for him to come back in this game anymore. And that's it for this game, guys. If you enjoyed this game, don't forget to subscribe for more Stormgate content. Thanks a lot for watching, have a nice day, and see you next time.